he was involved in the early part, according to Maya Digito, that he was the one who introduced the 5 account holders to him. So all you knew was that his PNB account was a destination of the money. So nasa ending na po siya, and yet you attributed knowledge on his part. And then here comes one critical player in the narration, and you do not attribute knowledge. So I'm just wondering, why the different treatment? I hope you get my point. Okay, so, okay, but that was okay. But that was before. But now that you have you have heard additional testimony, and according to Mr. Kim Wong, there is an unaccounted $17 million, which he alleges are still with Philrem. So don't you have any power or any weapon under your disposal to at least believe the allegation of Mr. Kim Wong and try to save the $17 million by freezing it or applying for a freeze order?
The problem, Your Honor, is I think this missing $17 million have been withdrawn in cash, and probably it's, I don't know.
Yeah, but did you even try?
We just try based on.
No, did you even try to now that you have heard this missing $17 million, will you even try to look for that from Philrem's accounts?
Well, we will try, Your Honor. But let me further explain, Your Honor. Because when we filed the petition for freeze order against all those identified accounts, as far as the $81 million is concerned, and based on the initial evidence that we have gathered, it would appear that everything has been disbursed by Philrem. Some parts went to Bloomberry, some parts went to Eastern Hawaii, which eventually went to Mr. Kim Wong, and some parts were allegedly delivered in cash to that Mr. Wei Kan Su. So the $81 million has been accounted for as far as our initial investigation.
Yes, if we are to believe Philrem's testimony. Yung first two, okay yun, there must be documentary evidence. That's why when Ms. Salud Bautista was testifying on the cash deliveries, she was required to bring receipts, which she promised to bring, even the identity or identification document of that person who received, like a passport, which she promised to bring, which she did not bring. Okay, so medyo sablay na po yun, ano? And then here comes testimony from Mr. Kim Wong that there's a missing 17 million. So it's word versus word, but if you can believe the word of Philrem, can you not also believe the word of Kim Wong and take precautionary measure to save that $17 million?
Well, Your Honor, all testimonies here will be taken into consideration in our investigation, Your Honor.
There's also testimony from Mr. Kim Wong that there are still left with the casinos, 40 million in Midas, 100 million in Soler. What can we do about it? If none, then can PAGCOR do something about it? And with your power to regulate and to license casinos? If AMLAC first, what can you do? Kasi we're trying to save us as much as we can. No? If we can return at the soonest possible time so that the case of Bangladesh versus New York Fed or Bangladesh versus whatever entity would be 81 minus whatever we can return. So, AMLAC first. With this testimony, $17 million Philrem, 40 million Midas, 100 million Soler. What can you do? Then since two casinos are involved, what can PAGCOR do?
Well, under the law, the only remedy for AMLAC is to file a petition for freeze. And when we file a petition for freeze, we have to identify, we have to describe the specific asset that is being frozen, Your Honor. That's why we would need information as to where these monies are. So if we can receive information that would show that parts of this money are with, like, if it is with the junket operators, and if we can receive information pertaining to those junket operators, then we can file a appropriate petition for freeze, Your Honor.
Can you sort out the details later? But freeze 100 million in Soler's assets, freeze 40 million in Midas's assets, and and then sort it out later. Who is the real person liable?
As I've said, Your Honor, when we file a petition for freeze with the Court of Appeals, we have to describe the assets being frozen. So we have to give details as to the assets that are being frozen. So without such description, it would be difficult for the Court of Appeals to issue.
I'm referring to, of course, their cash assets, of course, cash, bank deposits, etc. Only to the tune of the amounts testified to by Mr. Kim Wong are still there, are still being there. I don't think that's unfair. We are not running after the entire 550 kasi nalaro na at natalo. But sabi niya may 100 pang balansi. But are we not even going to try to recover the 100 million pesos? Anyway, we've heard Ms. Abad's answer. But Pagcor, can you not do anything about this?
Sir, the casino licenses have been very cooperative with us from the start of our investigation until now. In fact, they volunteered the whatever amounts were left. So we can get their cooperation on this, Your Honor.
But can we now reserve those amounts, more than just, if they're willing to cooperate, then they should not get hurt or be insulted if such an amount is frozen, di ba? Tama po ba yun?
Sir,
if you say that they're willing to cooperate, they've told you they're willing to cooperate, so what's wrong with...
They've committed to freeze the account, sir.
They've committed to freeze the account? Attorney Benitan?
Yes, Your Honor. We confirm that we have frozen the account, and we're waiting for a proper court order on how they will be disposed of, Your Honors.
You might get scolded, Attorney Tan.
Mr. Chair, would you like to repeat that last sentence? I didn't quite catch it. We admit that we are frozen the accounts.
We have frozen the account.
What is contained in the accounts as frozen?
The total amount which remained from the Ding Group when we stopped the play last March 10, 2016, Your Honors, total 107,350,602 in balance in their chips account. In addition, we confiscated various denominations of cash from their rooms, amounting to, when converted into pesos, Your Honor, 1,347,069 pesos, Your Honor. We are committed to hold this and comply with whatever court order would apply to this.
Was this the subject of a freeze order?
It's internal, Your Honor. This is company's decision.
You're doing a little bit better than RCBC. RCBC won't freeze. Yes, Marcel, you want to say something?
Thank you, sir. The bank has greater obligations, I believe, under existing
Greater
laws.
Obligations. To whom?
To the depositors, as it turns out. And I know what you will say, Your Honor, but...
Not to the Filipino people.
As well, Your Honor, we have that obligation.
Well, we commend Soler for freezing those accounts.
Thank
Now,
you, Your Honor.
We ask Midas, but since Midas is Pagcor operated, tama po ba yun? It's actually Pagcor committing to freeze your own funds up to 40 million? Is that the proper way to look at it?
Sir,
or is it who should be the one to freeze the 40 million?
Eastern Hawaii, sir.
Oh, can you direct Eastern Hawaii to do it now?
Yes, sir.
Sir, it already freeze. Freeze na po. Yung 40 million po.
At any time na pwedeng make that available, convert it to dollars, remit it to Bank of Bangladesh.
Opo.
Gagawin nyo?
Opo, meron pa po isang pera pa po. Nandyan, cash.
Magkano?
US dollars po. 4.63 million po.
Yes, if I may.
Akala ko yun
That's
yung-
the amount.
Hindi
That's
po,
the amount that
natira
was
po.
natira. So he has $4.6 million cash plus 40 million pesos cash. Am I
Kasi
correct?
Doon po sa sa Midas po. Ganito po, diba, sir? Yung tinanggap na sinasabi ho dito sa akin, 600 million cash. Ang natanggap ko is 400 million
Tama.
cash. pero tinanggap na 5 million US dollars. So, nag-aaway na po kami ng si Ding Sigaw, sabi ko po, hindi ho ito pwede kunin nyo ng cash. Kaya nang ilaro nyo. So, nakuha po nila ng 370,000 US, doon nag-aaway na po kami. So, natira na po, ngayon, nandyan po, nakatago sa dyan. Anytime, gusto nyo kunin 4.63 US dollars po, million US.
Thank you for,
Anytime po, kung gusto
thank you
nyo.
for volunteering that. Sino, who controls that 4.63 million US
Nandito
dollars?
po sa Tiangge, anytime. Nakigaw ho pangalan. Pwede ko po. Gusto nyo dalhin dito o saan nyo gusto nyo dalhin?
Basta kontrolado ninyo, ha?
Oh, utos yun lang sa akin.
Parkour, can we secure that amount? Immediately.
Yes,
Up to this healing po.
So,
Senator, if I may, maybe it should be turned over proper to the central bank for safekeeping. Governor? We're talking 4.6 million for safekeeping.
Mr. Chairman, I suppose somebody has to consign it to...
Closer to the mic, please.
Somebody has to consign it to the BSP, and BSP has vaults that can secure amounts.
Yes, so that's why I'm saying Mr. Kim Wong can make arrangements with the central bank for him to turn over the money to the Bangko Central for safekeeping.
Opo, kausapin ko po, doon ko, pahatid ko po doon.
Mr. Governor, there seems to be an unease on your part.
Mr. Chairman, the BSP cannot take deposits from the public. What BSP possibly can do is, if the amounts can be put in a storage, let's say in a box, secured, and then it will be witnessed and placed inside the BSP vaults, that could be arranged. Not unlike, for example, what was done for the source code of the COMELEC.
Yes. I'm not talking about deposits. I'm just saying it's lodged with you for safekeeping.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Analogous to the situation that I described.
Okay, then. So, Mr. Kim, would you make arrangements with Bangko Central? Anyway, after this meeting, you can meet with Governor Espinilla to go over the procedure of turnover.
Yeah, I think maybe the ambassador of Bangladesh can week this so we can put the box.
Whatever.
Opo.
thank you, Mr. Wong, for volunteering that. No, I missed that. It's in my notes, my 4.63 M nga, dollars. Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to dispute the interpretation of RCBC of our law on the secrecy of bank deposits. They say that the deposits are the ones being protected. But if you read the law, the protection over the deposits would disappear or would dissipate if there is a written permission of the depositor. Therefore, the protection is not for the benefit of the deposit, but for the benefit of the depositor. That is very, very clear. Hence, if the depositors have been determined by the bank itself as fictitious depositors, there is no point in invoking or applying the bank secrecy law. Now, I am interested in looking at the documents used in opening the 5 fictitious accounts. Since if the committee will adopt my interpretation of the law, then we should be able to compel RCBC now to submit all of those documents to this committee so we can examine them. Okay? Plus the short account transaction history, because they were open February 5 and May 1, 2015, had activity February 5, and then
Correct.
All amounts were gone by February 9 or 10. So if the committee would agree with my interpretation, I think we should be forcing RCBC to submit to us all the papers related to those 5 fictitious accounts. And what has happened to my request for the transaction history of the July 2014 peso account of William Sogo. Have you submitted it to the committee?
That, Your Honor, I will submit in the next hearing. I wasn't able to organize that. But I understand what the Honorable...
We're not waiting for the next hearing because you guys always give these documents 1 hour before, as if we're geniuses that we can absorb it.
Yes.
You will submit it tomorrow, okay?
We'll submit it tomorrow, Your Honor.
Okay.
Um,
I just would like to warn the audience that you're seeing a debate on law between two bar top notchers. So you better tape this for posterity.
Your Honor,
Thank
I defer to my better bar top notcher over here, Senator Pimentel. I understand what he's saying, and unfortunately, there is no jurisprudence as of the moment in any respect. And one interpretation will be an advocate's interpretation, which can go either way. There's no court to determine at this point. We have submitted all the documents to the AMLC, and if that's a way for the Senate to receive the reports, perhaps they could ask the AMLC. But we have submitted all the documents relating to all the accounts to the AMLC, Your Honor.
Okay. In that case, Senator,
Mr. Chairman,
Senator
we have
Coco.
made the request directly to RCBC.
Yes, Your Honor.
Are they complying or not? We want to know, and we know that your reason will be bank secrecy. Then I will move that we will not accept the reason. Is RCBC going to submit to this committee all of the documents, including
Yes.
the opening forms for the 5 fictitious accounts opened at your RCBC Jupiter branch?
Yes, Your Honor, I stand corrected. There is a Supreme Court case on the matter, and it actually pertained to the Velarde account. And when the Supreme Court said that bank secrecy did not apply to the Velarde account because it was fictitious, it limited its decision only to that specific account. So we do not have any decision yet that covers all the supposedly fictitious accounts.
Better for us, actually, that there's no decision. Therefore, this will be the precedent. It will be a political decision which you can question before the courts. But I need an answer.
Actually,
if they are submitting or not, because I will move that we will now overrule.
Attorney Marcel?
Your Honor, we always wish to comply.
No,
And
the answer.
the answer is we do not have any legal jurisprudence or legal basis.
So will you comply with the request?
We have submitted to the AMLC, Your Honor.
No. The specific. It's specific. Will you comply with the request that you give the documents on the fictitious account? Yes or no?
Your Honor, because the law is clear. and
Yeah, I know
there's no
the
jurisprudence,
law is clear to
we
you,
cannot-
but I just need a categorical answer. Don't give me any phrase
Your
before
Honor,
that.
we cannot comply.
You cannot comply.
Your Honor.
Okay, that's all I wanted.
So, I move, Mr. Chairman, that we do not accept the ground invoked by RCBC, which is the bank secrecy law, as a valid reason to not to comply with our request. So,
Yes.
and if that should be our interpretation, then I would move that they be cited for contempt.
Yes, actually that was our interpretation even at the start. If you recall, yun ang unang sinabi ko na bakit ganon, yung tao fictitious, hindi totoong tao. And this morning also Senator Osmeña reiterated that position. At any rate,
Your Honor, may I just add?
are you going to argue or are you
No,
going
Your
to
Honor.
just comply?
No, we cannot
Because we can
comply.
argue until 7 o'clock, 8
Right.
o'clock. But if it's going to be, we want a categorical answer.
I have given one, Your Honor.
Okay. At this rate, I'd like to call for because I've been informed that the sound system, the speakers, there's something wrong with them, and they would like 5 minutes to check on the sound system. So,
But Mr. Chairman, Marcel, on the peso account, there's no dispute, because he signed a waiver,
Yes, we
so
have discussed
comply
Mr.
tomorrow,
President anytime,
comply
yes.
tomorrow at the latest.
I'll try to see if I can have it sent by today.
Okay, thank you.
okay. So we call a 5-minute recess. So, 5-minute adjournment, 5-minute suspension. Okay. Hearing resumed. Before anything else, some administrative matters. Ms. Bautista, it's been 2 weeks. It's been requested from you the following by Senator Recto and Angara: all receipts of transactions involving the transferred funds. You have not submitted yet. Second, I'm not asking for an answer. I'm just telling you. Second, documents on the payment of the transaction: 29 million remitted to Soler, 21 million remitted to Eastern Hawaii, and 30 million cash to Wei Kangsu, requested by Senator Angara. And third, records on the remittance to casinos. How many times, as well as to the amount before the 29 million remittance to Bloomberry. Again, Senator Angara. And lastly, you undertook to give this committee a picture. Sabi mo, pinicturan mo yung passport. Give it to us by tomorrow afternoon, all of these documents. It's been 2 weeks. Now I need a response.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Secondly, Mr. Kim Wong, gusto ko lang ulitin, how much, for the record, in dollars is there on your possession that you're willing to give back?
Nakalagay po sa junket ng isang solar is 4.63 million US.
4.63 million US dollars.
po.
Okay. So at least there is something positive. His Excellency, the Ambassador, is here. At least there is a small but very positive development, is that at least we can give back 4.63 million US dollars. I talked to Mr. Kim a while ago during the break, and he is willing to make arrangements through his lawyers to turn over the cash to the AMLC. We agreed, instead of the Bangko Sentral, the AMLC. Anyway, you're lodged within the central bank at the same time. And from there, it's up to the central bank, Bangko Sentral, and the Anti-Money Laundering Council to turn over the cash to the Bangladeshi authorities. So, at least, for starters, meron positive na nangyari. We are able to return a certain amount which presumably would not have been unearthed had we not had these hearings. All right. Okay, we go to the issue at hand. Senator Pimentel, you have the floor.
I will now make a formal motion, Mr. Chairman, for us to compel RCBC, specifically the President, Mr. Lorenzo Tan, to produce by Thursday the account opening forms and other related forms and transaction history of the following accounts opened at RCBC Jupiter branch: Ralph C. Picache, account number 9013547037. Michael F. Cruz, account number 9013547047. Jesse Christopher Lagrosas, account number 9013547055. Alfred S. Vergara, account number 9013547098. And Enrico T. Vasquez, account number 9013547156. That is my motion, Mr. President. Mr. Chairman.
Senator Espeña?
I second the motion, Mr. Chair.
The motion has been seconded. Are there any objections?
Let me take a
Minority Floor Leader?
position. This is a very major policy question. You know, our government has adopted a general banking policy that protects the depositors of this country. Now, the purpose is very clear, that we cannot open these accounts except the authority granted by law, granted by us. Only on those grounds can you open those accounts. From the point of view of the bank that opened these accounts, at the time they were opened, they complied with all the requirements of validity of opening the accounts. Somebody now used them for an illegal purpose. That's given. But it is not within the jurisdiction of this legislative house or committee to determine the illicitness of those accounts. It is not within our authority under the Constitution. It is under the authority of the judicial department of this government, and only they can determine whether they will lift the secrecy according to the grounds specified by the law. If we are going to compel anybody here by our coercive powers to require them to violate the law that we so imposed upon the general public, what value will be those documents when the litigation will come? They cannot be presented as evidence. They are brought to the public by duress. It's a rule of evidence that a court cannot accept any evidence that is taken by duress. So that's my position. I think we better think about this very carefully, because we are legislators, we are not judges.
May I respond?
Senator Espeña?
I just would like to direct some clarificatory questions at our colleague, if he so pleases. You said that these accounts had been validly opened and all requirements had been met when the accounts were opened. No, that's what you said.
Yes, that's correct.
All right. Could you tell me who opened the accounts?
Well, according to the
Could
records,
anybody here tell us who opened the accounts?
the accounts were opened according to the records.
The accounts were opened
Picache,
by the bank manager.
Picache, Vergara, Vasquez, Cruz,
But they don't exist.
Regrosa.
But Mr. Senator, they do not exist.
Huh?
These personalities, these persons do not exist, and they've been admitted as a fee.
How do we know that they do not exist?
RCBC said that you've been able to trace.
We better ask the registry.
You've been
of deaths
able
if these
to
people
trace
are already dead, or they
that
were never been born.
You've been able to identify. Let me ask RCBC. Have you been able to identify the people in the pictures?
Your Honor, because bank secrecy applies squarely, we cannot answer that, but we have submitted all required reports to the AMLC and to the BSP, Your Honor.
Amla, can you answer that? Because I read in an article, and I'm sorry I didn't clip the article, that RCBC confirmed the identity of 2 people in the photos, and they were the legmen of Maya de Guito, working at the bank. In other words, Peke. Do you have that information, Ms. Abad?
Yes, Your Honor. We conducted our own investigation, and based on the customer identification documents that we obtained from RCBC, it turned out that the two of the identification documents submitted, which were supposedly driver's licenses, were not issued by the LTO. So these are fake documents.
All right. So there's no person who opened the account.
Okay.
Mr. Senator.
Can AMLA order anybody to open their accounts? Under present existing?
We We just try based on
No, did you even try to now that you have heard this missing $17 million, will you even try to look for that from Philrem's accounts?
Well, we will try, Your Honor. But let me further explain, Your Honor. Because when we filed the petition for freeze order against all those identified accounts, as far as the $81 million is concerned, and based on the initial evidence that we have gathered, it would appear that everything has been disbursed by Philrem. Some parts went to Bloomberry, some parts went to Eastern Hawaii, which eventually went to Mr. Kim Wong.
Are still with Philrem. So don't you have any power or any weapon under your disposal to at least believe the allegation of Mr. Kim Wong and try to save the $17 million by freezing it or applying for a freeze order?
The problem, Your Honor, is I think this missing $17 million have been withdrawn in cash, and probably it's, I don't know.
Yeah, but did you even? It's word versus word. But if you can believe the word of Philrem, can you not also believe the word of Kim Wong and take precautionary measure to save that $17 million?
Well, Your Honor, all testimonies here will be taken into consideration in our investigation, Your Honor.
There's also testimony from Mr. Kim Wong that there are still left with the casinos, 40 million in Midas, 100 million in Soler. What can we do about it? If none, then can PAGCOR do something about it? And with your power to regulate and to license casinos? If AMLAC first, what can you do? Kasi we're trying to save us as much as we can. No? If we can return at the soonest possible time so that...
And some parts were allegedly delivered in cash to that Mr. Wei Kan Su. So the 81 million has been accounted for as far as our initial investigation
Yes, if we are to believe Philrem's testimony. Yung first two, okay yun, there must be documentary evidence. That's why when Ms. Salud Bautista was testifying on the cash deliveries, she was required to bring receipts, which she promised to bring, even the identity or identification document of that person who received, like a passport, which she promised to bring, which she did not bring. Okay, so medyo sablay na po yun, ano? And then here comes testimony from Mr. Kim Wong that there's a missing 17 million. So he was involved in the early part, according to Maya Digito, that he was the one who introduced the 5 account holders to him. So all you knew was that his PNB account was a destination of the money. So nasa ending na po siya, and yet you attributed knowledge on his part. And then here comes one critical player in the narration, and you do not attribute knowledge. So I'm just wondering why the different treatment. I hope you get my point. Okay, so, okay, but that was before. But now that you have you have heard additional testimony, and according to Mr. Kim Wong, there is an unaccounted $17 million, which he alleges